Good morning, and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. Every Wednesday morning in Nowhere Village, we get together and we meditate and we talk about a theme that we're all contemplating together. And today um, is our last week of contemplating the theme of mission. What does it mean to have a mission or a purpose in this lifetime? And I'm going to share in a little bit um, some some contributions from a couple of members, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal journey and where it finds me as I try to meet my mission. And I'm going to speak today about a theme that we've been talking about this month in relationship to mission, which is this idea that the spiritual self, that really all of the universe has three aspects, and that if we can look at these three aspects, we're going to have some kind of encounter with truth. And those aspects are something, everything, and nothing. And so you'll recognize some of these themes. Next month is the theme is next steps. And really what we've been doing this past, since quarantine, since March, we've been going through what I call the coordinates. And this is a template for asking ourselves, really, it gets to all the kind of the most important vital questions um, for anybody that I ask them to look at if they're really serious about starting a spiritual practice, or really at any life transition or any moment when we really need to remember, who am I? What am I? What the hell am I doing here? And so we've been going through them for a while now. And the last of the coordinates is next steps, in that basically it's just a time to kind of reflect on all that we've done, and set intentions, and set some goals for what season is up ahead. The first Wednesday of next month is the day after the elections. I have a feeling, well, I don't know, I'm not even gonna pretend, but certain things may be known on that Wednesday morning, next Wednesday, a week from today. Certain things might not be known about the results of the election and the ramifications of those results. But I have decided that should be a time just set aside for basically a community circle, essentially. I'll hop on and say a few things, and then I'm going to be inviting you and anyone else you want to invite to the circle. It's open, um, to come and share what your concerns are, or what's coming up for you, and for us to process together as a group. And then we'll spend the rest of November. I'll be giving you guys resources for setting goals that make sense, for reflecting on where you've come from, um, and in November we'll be taking Nowhere Village into some next steps, providing more meditation, live meditation opportunities for you throughout the week, and looking forward to 2021 and seeing what we want to do with this space that we have here together to make it really suit where we're all at after our reflections. When I was little, I loved philosophizing. And at the time, I maybe would have called it thinking. But now I understand that thinking is a little, there are lots of types of thinking. And also, even just the very word thinking, it lends the idea that somehow the thinker is the manufacturer of the thoughts, and that the thinker is sort of the controller of the thoughts, or the inventor of the thoughts. And when I talk about philosophizing, I'm talking about something different, in that philosophy is about uh, questions that are much older than any particular philosopher, much deeper and wider than any one culture. And my experience actually of all kinds of thinking now is different. I don't really believe myself to be the manufacturer of thoughts. It feels to me much more, my experience is much more like thoughts come through the experience that I have. Some of those thoughts might be philosophical in nature, and some of them might be about all sorts of other things. And if philosophy is really, defined by these sort of ageless, cultureless, human questions, then I say that I loved philosophizing because these thoughts, when they came through my field of awareness as a small person, um, captivated me. I'm starting to understand my natal chart more now. I've been doing little readings for people too, which has been really great. But for those of you who know anything about this, my Venus is in Aquarius. So the way that I love, or one of the ways, the main ways that I love, is actually through ideas, and and that's what it felt like. Like I was in love with these ideas that would come through, and I would really enjoy playing as a child plays in this cerebral space. And I found that I could inhabit a world, an inner world of philosophy with, just for without a sense of time. And it was like I could build things inside with these really big ideas and questions. I could structure things together using logic and come to interesting conclusions. It was a bit like building sandcastles, right? Which you can do as a kid with your little hands and your limited body, right? Your limited body can make little limited forms. But I found that the limitations were, I was still limited in my mind, but the limitations were much, much, much vaster. And it was as if I could build a sandcastle and climb inside and live in there and decorate the place and climb all over and connect it to another castle. Um, and it was such a gift to be able to inhabit that space. And I was lucky to have parents that allowed me to go into these spaces. I also spent a lot of time writing and writing songs and creating things by myself. And then the rest of my life was really spent very much immersed in collaboration, whether it was part of my parents' theater company where I performed when I was very little, um, or it was helping out with stuff around the house, or when I got older, I was really in charge of my brothers. So I spent a lot of it when I was very social when I was out of that bubble, but there was something for me that was so um, that I just cherished absolutely about being able to go inward and be in this world of philosophy. And to be in this internal space. When people asked me, as they do young people, what do you want to be when you grow up? I remember when I was very, very little, I remember kind of doing my philosophical thing with it and really kind of pushing around the ideas. What do they mean by that? Who am I and what am I going to do here? And I remember thinking to myself, you should be a doctor. You should be a doctor. But then when I would imagine myself in a white coat in a hospital, it didn't feel right. I couldn't feel myself there. And I remember thinking, well, I guess I'm not going to help people because I won't be a doctor. This is a really early memory. And then over the years, as I formed more of a personality, as expectations from others came in more strongly, as I started to get trained by the school experience, putting myself out there, putting my work out there, getting a grade, getting validation or not. I remember wanting to be basically whatever it was that I was getting a lot of praise and validation for. Um, Performing, I thought for a long time, at many different stages of my life, I was sure I was going to just follow that. Writing. Um, I was a natural leader in school, and I remember in fourth grade, there was a joke, I guess it was a joke, amongst my teachers and my parents and the principal that I was going to be the first female president of the United States. And my dad held on to that one for a really long time. But it was sort of whatever was valued by the adults around me or the institutions around me, right? The sources, my sources. Naturally, I wanted to do what they wanted me to do. But I have to say that I never ever kind of landed on something and said, "That's it. That's what I'm going to do." When I reflect on this now, I can see that, understandably, as a little person, I was making two big mistakes that my spiritual teachers talk about all the time now, which is mistaking humanness for the body, right? I had this idea that the only way to help people was to help their bodies, right? That's what medical doctors do. I could save people's physical lives, right? I could alleviate some physical suffering for people. And that would give me a purpose that was meaningful, that would make me a helper, that would make me a good person. But we are not just bodies, of course. It is not just our bodies that hurt or suffer or need help. And now I can see that what I do is helping. And I can absolutely see that I don't belong in a white coat in a medical hospital, right? That wasn't, I was right about that. That wasn't my path. And I was also right that I was meant to help. I think we all are. I think there are actually just so many ways of doing so. And then the other mistake that I made um, was believing that a person is a personality only. And a personality is, according to my teachers, a personality is a is really, I mean, they often just call it an ego, but it's really just like a collection, a bundle of memories, qualities, ideas. It's ideas. And the personality is important and the body is important, right? These are things, and having doctors is important, you know. But I can see the ways that I was sort of limiting myself and my ideas of what would be my future mission and purpose. Um, and I can see that what my teachers say is exactly right. That the traps that we fall into are these timeless human traps, cultureless human traps of mistaking the self for a body and for a personality. And then we come into boku suffering when if the if the physical body has little pain, right, or we think that it's in danger, or if the personality is in danger, right? A lot of my suffering in the last, well, I don't know, maybe my whole life, but the last few years, I think has been a lot about, oh gosh, this personality that I formed, this idea of who Erin is and what she's here to do is threatened. And the experience that I had was almost like, it was as if I was going to be, well, I wasn't going to make it. But it turns out that instead, things shift. And along the way, I've learned I am not just a body, and I am not just a personality. My spiritual teacher, one of them, Adyashanti, talks about how he sees a lot of spiritual practitioners um, try to reject the body and the personality outright and say, oh, no, no, I'm nothing. I'm a no self. But what I'm going to talk about a little bit now is is how, as we've talked about it before, we still are something. I still have a body which is limited and unique, and I have a personality which is limited and unique. And a spiritual, the way that I've experienced my sort of spiritual awakening is coming to recognize that this limited thing plugs into something bigger, what we'll call the everything. And that the everything is is made of and surrounded by and um, just completely shot through with the third aspect, which is the nothing. And what I'm finding as I really work with these, it's like the simplest thing. It's like the simplest cosmology of all time, right? It's like this sacred trinity. That what I'm finding is that anytime that I get into a personal pain point, I kind of remind myself now, I am something, I'm everything, and I'm nothing. And usually there will be some aspect of that that I realize I'm in resistance to. And if I can get back into acceptance of those three points, those three aspects, I find that I can often sort of let go of whatever is keeping me back. And so what my teacher is talking about is this, like, really, in a sense, making the nothing and or the everything into one's personality. I'm the enlightened one. I am the no self, right? That's just taking the nothing and making it something. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how this works and then go into how it brings me here to where I am right now. So what is a something? I'm just going to give you a couple sort of principles of somethingness, and then they'll lead right into everything and nothingness. Something is unique. It's limited in time and space. It's unique, which means there's nothing else like it. It's in time and space, which means that it is connected to everything else. It's in a sort of web of relationship. Always. It can't be taken from this web. That's the everything. Each unique being, now this we could call the principle of autonomy. Each unique being is an end in and of itself. It's responsible for itself, and it is self-aware. No one else can be aware for you, and no one else can hijack your purpose. They can try. They sure can. And so there's something here that feels almost like a paradox. I mean, it is. And when I say it right now, it is going to be a paradox. Like, a principle of something is that every something is caused by and for itself. It is an end in and of itself. Your life on its own is valuable just for you being, and it's only for you to experience. At the same time, everything is related to the something, right? Everything is made up of a bunch of somethings, and each of those somethings does communicate to one another. And so at the same time, everything is responsible for you. Everything in the universe is conspiring right now to make this talk possible and for you to hear it. If one little thing had shifted in the universe, this wouldn't be happening. And if everything is a cause, then at the same time, nothing is a cause. There is no cause. Feels like paradox. Don't get too lost in it. So, the principles of everything, right? Everything is interconnected. Everything is made up of a bunch of somethings. And then we know that the universe is mostly dark matter. We know that from physics that everything, look around you, everything that seems solid is actually mostly space. And we know that the aspect of the self that feels the most continuous and ever present, we'll call it awareness. We know that this is a no thing. Unlike the some things, nothing has no no. Nothing has no limitations. Anything you can find on a map, it's limited. Anything that has a beginning, middle, and end in time, limited. Something. But there is this nothingness, which is everywhere, always. We know that in this great vastness that we'll call everything or the universe, much of it is dark, unpenetrable, mysterious, unknown, and that is its nature. It's supposed to be. If you've got everything, wouldn't you have some of that? Maybe a lot of that. And so whatever you are something. You are that, you are limited. Each edge of your skin is a no. No, 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 I don't go, right? To be something means to not be something else. To be here means to not be there. So we know we have these limited natures. We know that our limited self is connected to all things. And we know that all things share the quality of nothingness, of no limitation as well. As I try to make peace with all of this, as I try to discover what this unique Erin is supposed to do here, as she honors her everythingness and her nothingness as well. I've come across some uh, obstacles. I've come across some obstacles, and I don't have time to talk about all the obstacles that I've come across since I first had the idea that I wouldn't be a doctor. But we'll just speed us up to most recently. Every something, every unique self, as I said, is autonomous. in charge of their own self awareness, in charge of their own path, responsible for their self, but also autonomous in that each somebody gets to enjoy their own self. They get the direct information from their own somethingness of what to do, where to go, how to proceed. No one else can interpret the truths of your heart, your gut, you know? And as I get to know so it's my responsibility to get to know my own needs and my own boundaries. And along the way that I have found, especially in COVID, right? I was living alone, working alone. I mean, I get to hang out with you guys, but I'm in charge of my schedule all day long. I am really self generating of my work life as well. So for me, March through October of 2020, I spent an enormous amount of time by myself. And I recognized that one of my needs that wasn't being met, huge need, and within this need, there's like a bunch of other needs bundled inside, but the need for more daily social interactions with a community that I really that shared my values and 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 then the other big piece for me, honestly, the other big need that wasn't being met, and I realized that I wasn't going to thrive without this need being met, was the financial one, basic financial security, which I gave up when I left my partner, when I left my marriage, and at that point I could have gone and gotten a real job or something, but I wanted to keep doing this work, and so I kept trying to find ways to do that, but um, starting something up like this on your own is hard, and so the journey that I'm on right now, um, traveling to a couple of different communities and visiting a few different cities where I do have a social base, um, and where life is a little bit more affordable. As I as I go on this journey, um, well, one thing I'm realizing is that I was right about my pain points, and this is really important. I was right that what I'm looking for is these two things. That was like the main causes of my anxiety, and main things that were keeping me from really living right now, today, the life that I need to be living. It's been really great here in this community, even though me and two other people are in a quarantine and we spend time together, we still are able to spend time outdoors with a lot of people here and get a sense of the culture and have lots of great conversations. I already feel the difference I'm still doing my work. I'm still doing exactly what I was doing in High Falls, New York, here, basically. Um, but in between tasks, I find I go outside and I help somebody else with a task, or I break up my day in moments where other people's lives are important. When it's just me and my work for months at a time, the ego, the somethingness actually ends up kind of taking over in this strange way. Here I find myself back in sort of the rhythms of community. And also, this place I chose it because it shares my values, right? Everyone here is really connected to nature, um, spending time outside, farming their own food, um, that kind of thing. Um, it's it's a space that's defines itself as egalitarian or even anarchist. Some would say non-hierarchical. The autonomy of the individual is very highly cherished, but obviously they also are really good interconnecting and putting things together. But everyone's very, very respectful of whatever I want to be doing, whether it's sitting outside staring at the sky philosophizing, or if it's in here giving you guys a talk or doing whatever I need to do. Built into that egalitarian framework or values framework is a trust in human nature. It is a trust that when we're in alignment, we will do the right thing. We don't need an outer source policing uh, or enforcing what's right and what's wrong, because it's actually built in to our nature. And if I choose to be here, I will give, there's a thriving seed business that pays for everyone's life here. And I would be working 42 hours a week there. No one even tracks your hours, but it's just all in good faith, and people know whether you're showing up or not, right? You're holding your end. So I would do that, and then find times in my day, of course, to do this heart work of mine, and would have a place to sleep and eat and live. And I think everyone gets like a little allowance too for things that aren't covered by the community. Your junk food, bottle of wine, whatever it is that isn't considered essential. So that's a little glimpse and a little taste of where this has brought me, and I'm excited to explore this. I have more places to go after this, and but this is a really beautiful option in a world where I feel like we don't take good enough care of each other. I'm watching a lot of really good care being taken here. So we're just about out of time. So what I'm going to do now is um, I am going to read, I'm going to close by reading um, two things that were shared by members. And then I'll take us home with a quote from the Tao Te Ching. And then anyone who wants to hang out and sing for a few minutes, we'll sing a song. So all month I've been asking you guys to write about your mission. You can still do that. We invite that. But I got two people to send in really beautiful responses, and I'm just going to read them for you guys. Okay, this one from Lee. I value adventure, leaping for fullness. I value curiosity, seeking the beyond, what is under and behind, connecting all things. I value belonging, asking difference into our hearts. I value space, to living as if my tea is not growing cold. I am intuition rising. I trust knowledge that rises from within. I am a change maker. I leave things better than I found them. I am the red ninja, pursuing my dreams with intelligence and energy. I am a silly critter, bringing wonder and play to the ordinary. I am a purposeful poet. I express profound spiritual connections. I am Mama Mojo. I nurture the light in me and others. I aspire to graceful play, finding balance of feeling and order. In this life, I will learn, unravel falseness, and pull people into life's beauty. So wonderfully. And if you look in Nowhere Village, you'll see that with some really beautiful images that she also made for that. And then Judy was playing with one of the prompt questions for this month, which was, how does love use me? And hers is really sweet. Her response is, it was simple to think of my grandson and the joy of his wonder, which is contagious. But digging deeper, I went to feel my heart, listen to what matters, care, care, listen completely. Don't assume, slow down. Each person is worthy of my attention, but this applies to me too. Actually, it should begin with me. Be love to me, be truth to me. Thank you so much for those, guys. Yeah, really beautiful, right? really beautiful. Both of those are posted in Nora Village if you want to revisit them. Um, I so love hearing how you guys are working with all of this. It really helps me understand um, my own work and what we're doing here. And so please, please, everybody, keep, whenever you feel inspired, please do share with us what you're working with. And I know for myself, once I put something out and somebody else can see it, it takes on a kind of different life for me too. It might seem like silliness in your notebook, but sort of like once you put it out there and you hear how certain things resonate, um, it might help you understand your own process and help you feel a little bit more clear and complete in your process when you share. So I invite everybody to do that as you can. Ding. I think I'm actually not going to read this whole quote from the Tao Te Ching, but I'll post it for you guys. But I'll just read this last bit. Open yourself to the Tao and trust your natural responses, and everything will fall into place. And I wanted to bring that in because in some of the conversation that I've been having with people, they've been talking about, but oh, should I be still all the time? Oh, should I be, just in meditation all the time? And um, the fact of of the matter is, your nature is not just to be still. Your nature is also to move and to change things. And you are all of it. And so learning how to trust those natural responses, learning that when something is moving through you, when it wants to move through you or be expressed through your unique being, let it. All right, we're going to sing now.